I remember when the internet showed up and e-commerce started. And I remember some of the people who were really into the tech running around thinking, this is the death of bricks and mortars. There will never be stores again. And now Amazon opens stores and Rent the Runway opens stores. And turns out the extremes are not great places. You know, it's not the death, it's live alongside. They become different animals. They become different reasons. We go to shops not to get the best deal. You go to websites to get the best deal. You go to shops because it's fun. You go to shops to try stuff on. You go to shops because it's an activity, because our hunter-gatherer instincts, we like foraging and looking for things. It's entertainment. We enjoy the service aspect, you know? It's with our friends. Sometimes it's not about the shops at all. It's just a place, something to do with our friends. It plays a different role. And the smart retailers know that. And so when we talk about work, it's the same. It's the death of the corporate headquarters, it's the death of the office. I'm like, is it though? You know? The reality is, this is gonna be somewhere in the middle. And I think one thing, with all the predictions about what the future of work looks like, I think one thing we can be absolutely sure of is there'll be more flexibility. Where it used to be, hey boss, can I take off next Friday? Can I work from home next Friday? I have to stay home for whatever, right? Becomes emailing in the morning saying I'm working from home today, and everybody's just fine with it. You know, introverts liking working from home, extroverts like working at the office. But at the same time, sometimes extroverts should stay home because they can get more work done, and sometimes introverts need to come to the office because they need to connect, and we want you to be a part of the culture. And so I don't think, making any predictions about what it will look like, I think is a little foolish at this time. We know it'll be some sort of amalgamation. We know it'll be more flexible, and probably every office will be slightly different, and it'll fit whatever their culture is. And I think the office environment will become one of the selling things, which is if somebody really hates this office environment, they'll find another company where they like the office environment. But I think what's really interesting about the Great Resignation, what's being talked about less in the Great Resignation, is sort of the reasons for it. Some people talk about the government checks that we've gotten, that runs out, so that's not a main reason for it. People talk about how people are quitting to follow their dreams. I've always wanted to be an actor or a writer. Great, and that is definitely a percentage, and I love that, but those numbers aren't big enough. What I think is more interesting is that the Great Resignation is an indictment on decades of substandard corporate culture and poor leadership. Because it's a big deal that we're seeing people, especially at frontline level jobs, where leadership used to say of them, they should just be happy to have a job, right? That those people are quitting without new jobs necessarily is a big deal. And they're definitely not all just following their dreams. I think it is because in the past, when you ask those people, how's work? And they'd be like, it's fine. Is it good? No, it's fine. It's a job, it's fine. Well, why didn't you quit? Because the unknown was way scarier than fine. And so they made do with fine, and leadership took advantage. A lot of corporate managers took advantage of the fact that they could get away with fine. We could do the minimum because they're not going to leave. They're lucky to have a job, and what, are they going to go out there in the great unknown? Fine is fine. And then COVID happened, and a lot of people were laid off. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were furloughed. Some people kept their jobs but just lived in fear. And we all kind of made it out okay. We ate, we had food, most people made it okay. Even if it was difficult, they made it through. And so all of a sudden, the great unknown, a lot less scary. And so when you're offering me fine, I choose unknown. That's a better option. In fact, not only do I choose unknown, I'm going to wait until you fix fine. And I don't think enough companies are recognizing that the Great Resignation is an indictment, that the Great Resignation is a wag of the finger, that you have been getting away with substandard culture and poor leadership for too long, and you better fix your stuff. And I think the companies that will have the huge advantages is not the companies that get the balance of in-person or online work right. I don't think that's what makes it. I think the companies that get the huge advantage moving forwards are the ones that teach leadership to their leaders, that teach these human skills that we've been talking about, that create a corporate environment and a corporate culture that I want to go to every day. And I actually form good, strong bonds with my new tribe, with the people I go to work with. And I'm willing to sacrifice and not get everything exactly how I want it, because I'd rather be here and serve these wonderful group of people. Those are the companies that will have the huge advantage of the next decades or two.
One of the things that I saw in that post-COVID period was, in my company in particular, was one of the things that I believe, and from our research at the time, I'm no longer with this company, so I can kind of talk about it with a bit more honesty. In our questionnaires, we would see that a lot of the reason why people loved to come and work there was because of the company culture.
Right.
We'd gone to extreme lengths. We had like 5 people that were just in charge of happiness, called the happiness team. We paid for everyone's mental health therapy. It was in terms of flexibility, what the world is like now, where you can decide for yourself when you work. And then when COVID came around, we were like known for that in the UK. Like the BBC had done a piece, is this the best place to work? When COVID came around, it smashed our USP, because and this is why I almost viewed it as a leveler, because now everyone was working from their laptop at home in their boxer shorts. So now what I think I saw was our employees were going, to some degree, I can work at home in my boxer shorts for this company, or I can work at home in my boxer shorts for this company where they'll pay me
more.
Double.
Yeah.
And that shift was, and it was terrifying for us, because that's when we started to see people leaving, because they would go, oh, well, this company will give me 30% more and I'm still going to be doing my to-do list at home on my own. So why don't I move now?
Yep.
Is there truth to that in your view?
Yeah, of course, because you mistook trappings for culture.
Right.
Right. Now, no, those things are good. Let's not diminish the value of those things. But this is a beautiful full circle we're going in from the very beginning of our conversation, which is to what end? To what end? Like, what are we doing this in service to? What's the bigger thing?
That was missing.
And that was missing.
100%.
And that's where cultures become magic. They're fun. Like, the number of companies you and I have both visited that have, flat screens everywhere, amazing design, free lunch,
We had a slide.
Yeah, you have a slide, like, cool. Now is somebody going to turn down a better paying job to keep that? No, But if you give them the opportunity to contribute to something bigger themselves, would they turn down a better paying job now? Yes, right? And so I think, and it's probably driven by the whole .com tech culture, but it's because tech companies largely are that sort of ridiculous bright colors slides in every office, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, but that's not cause, that's not purpose. And great cultures are organized to advance something bigger than themselves. They're not just fun places to work.
Do you know the thing I think we did wrong is I think we asked people what they wanted.
Yeah.
So they said things like a bar, a basketball hoop.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you're clearly alluding to here, you can't ask people for culture. Like in that regard, you can't ask people to all name the collective cause, because they'll all say different things.
Correct. You have to offer them a cause to join.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons they join the companies, because they believe in the cause, not just because it's a job I want to do. Henry Ford famously said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. This is where folks like Steve Jobs, who's given too much credit for being able to predict what people want, is totally not true. He had a cause, and he simply made products that brought that cause to life, which is to give people the power to stand up to Big Brother. That's it. And we developed technology to empower individuals. That's it. And so those who came to work there, they recognized that they were a part of a revolution, the computer revolution. They constantly talked about it as the revolution. And they invented iTunes, which more than the iPod revolutionized the music industry, turned it from an album culture to a song culture, let us make music portable, and that was the music, they referred to it as the music revolution. And you carried a banner, and you sacrificed for it. Was it a great place to work? It was a hard place to work, but it was worth it. And that's the question. Are the sacrifices worth it? And sometimes we hide the pain or the difficulties or the strains or the stresses with all the silly fun stuff, which is a salve, let's be honest. I mean, it does work to some degree. But not all stress is bad. I joke, often, when we work hard for something we love, it's called passion. When we work hard for something we don't love, it's called stress. Now, in both cases, you're working hard. What's the difference between, doing something you love and you work late hours and you sacrifice your relationships and you sacrifice your family, but you look at it and say, it was hard, but it was worth it, versus losing all those things and all you do is get a Lamborghini at the end. It's like, was it worth it? I'm like, I'm not so sure I'd do that again, And so I think that's what purpose and cause provide us, is they give us a reason for the sacrifice. That's what love gives us. It gives us the reason for the sacrifice. That's what children do. They give us the reason for the sacrifice. Your life will profoundly change when you have a child. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it easy? No. Every person I've ever talked to who has children say it's the most difficult thing they've ever done. And if you ask them if it's worth it, they all say yes. That doesn't go together,